Greetings. Let us proceed directly into the analysis. Today, we are deconstructing the biological and evolutionary signals of high female arousal and receptivity. We are not looking for social politeness or friendliness. We are isolating the involuntary physiological responses that occur when a woman is in a state of biological readiness, colloquially understood as being wet or sexually charged. These are signals generated by the autonomic nervous system, meaning they are largely impossible to fake and impossible to suppress. The first distinct indicator involves the eyes. The eyes are the primary communicators of the limbic system. When a woman encounters a potential mate of high genetic value, or when she is psychologically aroused, her brain releases a surge of dopamine and norepinephrine. This chemical reaction forces the iris muscles to retract, causing the pupils to dilate, expanding up to 45% larger than their resting state. Evolutionarily, this mechanism allows more light to enter the eye so she can process more visual data about the target of her desire. If you are in a brightly lit environment and her pupils are consuming the color of her eyes, this is not a reaction to the room. It is a physiological reaction to you. Simultaneously, you must look for the glimmer effect. The Cowper's glands in the eyes are stimulated by intense emotional or sexual excitement, increasing lacrimal fluid production. Her eyes will appear glassy, shimmering, or wet. This combination of dilated pupils and increased moisture creates a doe-eyed look, a biological signal of submission and openness to approach. Moving deeper into the physiology, the second sign is cutaneous vasodilation, or the sex flush. When a woman enters a state of high arousal, her heart rate accelerates to pump oxygenated blood to the reproductive organs. However, this blood flow is systemic. One of the most reliable indicators of this state is a reddening or pinking of the skin, specifically in the chest, the décolletage, and the cheeks. Unlike a blush caused by embarrassment, which is often patchy and accompanied by avoiding eye contact, the sex flush is a consistent rise in skin temperature and color. Biologically, this mimics the visual signals of ovulation. It is the body's way of signaling heat. If you notice a rash of color spreading up her neck while you are speaking to her, and the room temperature has not changed, it is a direct result of capillary expansion due to sexual excitement. She is physically heating up. Third, we look for the exposure of vulnerable anatomy. In the study of primatology and human evolution, the exposure of vital points is a sign of ultimate trust and a subconscious invitation for intimacy. When a woman is guarding herself, she protects her neck and wrists. When she is aroused and receptive, she exposes them. Watch for the lateral neck sweep. She will tilt her head to the side and sweep her hair away, exposing the jugular vein and the curve of the neck to you. This serves a dual purpose. First, the neck is a highly erogenous zone. By exposing it, she is signaling where she wants to be touched. Second, this action releases pheromones trapped near the hairline and glands, wafting her natural scent toward you. Similarly, observe her wrists. If she is smoking, holding a drink, or gesturing, and the soft inner wrists are constantly facing you, she is signaling openness. Closed fists or palms facing down are barriers. Open wrists are an invitation. The fourth indicator is displacement activity and object stroking. High arousal creates a surplus of nervous energy and a craving for tactile stimulation. However, social norms often prevent a woman from immediately touching a man she desires. To cope with this tension, the brain engages in displacement behavior. She transfers the desire to touch you onto inanimate objects. This is not random fidgeting. It is rhythmic and specific. Watch how she handles a wine glass. Is she stroking the stem in a slow up and down motion? Is she tracing the rim of the glass repeatedly? Is she playing with a necklace, running it back and forth along the chain? This stroking behavior is a subconscious projection. The speed and rhythm of her hand movements often mirror the internal pace of her arousal. She is literally acting out what she wants to do physically, using the object as a proxy. Fifth, we must analyze the paralinguistic shift. We often associate femininity with a higher-pitched voice. However, arousal lowers the pitch. When a woman is in a state of sexual readiness, the parasympathetic nervous system begins to take over to relax the body for intimacy. This causes the vocal cords to loosen. Consequently, her voice will drop into a lower register. You will hear a husky or raspy quality, often referred to as vocal fry. Furthermore, pay attention to the breathiness of her speech. As blood oxygenation becomes a priority, her breathing pattern changes from deep belly breaths to shallower chest-focused breaths. If her voice shifts from a loud social projection to a quiet, low, breathy tone, she is creating an intimacy bubble. This drop in volume forces you to lean in closer to hear her, physically closing the gap between you. The sixth sign is proxemic orientation. Body language is most honest in the extremities, the feet and legs. The brain prioritizes controlling the face because that is where we lie, but it often forgets the legs. When a woman is in this state, her body will naturally orient itself toward the source of the stimulation. This is the ventral fronting principle. Even if her head is turned away, if her torso and, more importantly, her knees are pointed directly at you, she is engaged. Look specifically for the open leg cross. If she crosses her legs, observe the top leg. If the top leg is crossed towards you, her pelvis is open to your direction. If the top leg is crossed away from you, creating a thigh barrier between you and her, she is defensive. A woman who is highly aroused will rarely place a limb barrier between herself and the target male. She will keep the path clear. Next, consider the mouth. The mouth is a biological echo of the reproductive anatomy. During arousal, as blood flow increases systemically, the lips will engorge, becoming slightly fuller and redder. This is known as labial mimicry. A woman in this state will subconsciously draw attention to her mouth. You will observe her biting her lower lip or licking her lips frequently. While licking can be a sign of dryness, in this context it is often because heavy breathing dries the tissue and she is instinctively keeping the area sensitive and moist. Crucially, look for the parting of the lips. In a neutral state, the mouth is closed. In a sexually charged state, the jaw relaxes and the lips part slightly. This allows for greater air intake and signals a readiness for oral contact. If she is listening to you and her mouth is slightly open with a relaxed jaw, she is in a state of high receptivity. The eighth sign involves postural arching, or lordosis. In almost all mammalian species, the female signals readiness to mate through a posture called lordosis, the arching of the lower back to accentuate the hips and buttocks. In humans, this is more subtle but still observable. If she is standing, she may shift her weight to one hip and slightly arch her back, pushing her chest forward and her hips back. If she is sitting, she might stretch, arching her spine and exposing her torso. This posture does two things. It highlights secondary sexual characteristics, and it signals a submissive availability. If she stretches in front of you, arching her back while maintaining eye contact, she is executing a primal mating signal that predates language. Finally, we must address the paradox of sexual tension fidgeting. High arousal releases a cocktail of adrenaline and norepinephrine. This creates a state of physical agitation. A woman who is highly aroused often cannot sit perfectly still. You will notice micro movements. She might adjust her dress constantly, smooth her hair, tap her foot, or shift in her chair. This is different from the fidgeting of boredom. In boredom, the body is slumped, and the eyes are scanning the exit. In sexual arousal, the body is upright, the energy is high, and the eyes are locked on you. She is fidgeting because her body is preparing for action, specifically the physical exertion of sex. The tension has nowhere to go, so it leaks out in these small, restless movements. She is vibrating with anticipation. If you find value in this deep psychological analysis and wish to understand human dynamics at a higher level, ensure you subscribe to the channel and like this video. Leave a comment below if you have observed these specific indicators in your own interactions. Your engagement allows us to continue this research. These 9 signs are the language of biology. They operate below the level of conscious thought. When you observe a cluster of these signals, the dilated pupils, the flushed skin, the exposed neck, and the change in voice, you are not observing social niceties. You are observing a physiological state of deep receptivity. Observe carefully. Proceed with confidence. Goodbye.